Welcome to the Scoop World Order, presented by Twin Peaks and Buffalo Wild Wings. Take care of our sponsors during this bye week. Again, there is some great football this week, even though the Buckeyes are off. This guy's got a huge week this week. I know that a lot of people are upset. A lot of people are sad. I'm not. I feel great. Nevadabuck feels great. I think that this is going to be really good for the team. And again, we have to lose Jimmy Simmons, and we got a week to figure out who we're going to play at left tackle. But I like our chances against anybody, and I really like the direction of this team. And I'm telling you, losses can be good. I know that sounds crazy, Kirk Sunshine pumping again, but go look at the great NFL teams that suffered a loss and how they rebounded and how they finished out their seasons. I mean, there's a lot of teams where a loss in the middle of the season becomes the catalyst for the rest of the season, and guys really lock in, get laser focused. And there's some guys that aren't traveling this weekend. A lot of guys want to get out of town and head home or go to some college campus that their friends go to and kick it and party and stuff. And a lot of guys are canceling those plans because they want to get after it. And, they've got this short sprint, and, the margin for error has shortened a little bit. But, they still, even if they have some unthinkable second loss, they're still going to make the playoffs. And talk a little bit about how that could actually be beneficial. We'll talk about that. Again, this is crazy, but Nevada and I were talking about it. We'll share it with you. Again, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like. Click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate you guys being on here each and every night. If you guys want to do something outstanding for us to support our all 22 breakdowns, support everything that we do on BuckeyeScoop.com, please go to your Apple Podcasts and go to Spotify. Follow us on both. Subscribe to our podcasts. They're absolutely free. It's the best way that you can say thank you. We appreciate you guys for working every night. Again, if you guys were with us for that post show, man, that might have been the longest episode we've ever done, because it was almost 4 hours long. Of nonstop analysis. And after an intense night game going until 3 a.m., it is not for the faint of heart, but thank God for Celsius and Red Bull and coffee, because I was drinking all of those. And but I just appreciate you guys kicking it with us. Someone who never needs energy and is a true creature of the night, my friend Nevadabuck. He was chipper and not up and at him. And I think he went and played 27 holes of golf as soon as we wrapped at 3 a.m. Was that your plans? I thought that's what you said. I'm going to go golf now because I am that guy.
Yeah, no, I collapsed in a heap and slept for like the next 14 hours and only awoke when the dogs were licking my face to let me go outside out the doors. Ugh. So it was a war, man. It felt like armed combat, but we survived. And sometimes when these things happen, at the time you kind of go through your range of emotions, and this time, just from the beginning, it didn't feel as bad and as devastating as it has in years gone by. And we've talked about that ad nauseum, about the difference between, look, I'm old enough to have remembered when you had to have season-long perfection. It was going to be the team that was undefeated had a chance to win the national championship, and then it moved to 2 teams that felt like this great, rocket ship forward, and you lived through that, and then 4, and now we're at 12. And I just think as a fan, I know it takes some getting used to, but you just have to change your expectations about what's important, what's the most important, and what's devastating and what's not. And with the 12, there's going to be a lot of wacky scenarios right now. And they talk about the first 4 seeds all getting buys, right? And that's great. You think about that, and you gotta go, wow, that's fantastic. But I pointed out to you, I'm like, well, another way to get a bye is just not qualify for your championship game. If you don't qualify for your championship game, then 1, you can't lose. 2, you get the week off. And 3, if you've got enough quality wins or quality losses on your resume, like let's just use the example of losing to Penn State. If we lose to Penn State, so our losses are on the road at number 2 by a point, on the road at number 3, and assuming we don't get blown out, assuming it's a close game, we could be 5, we could be 7. We'd be no lower than 8, I can tell you that. So we avoid the Big Ten championship game, get the week off, and then host a home playoff game, 5 versus 12, 6 versus 11, something like that, and then on to neutral set games. So, look, there's a lot of scenarios, there's a lot of football. Somebody's going to win this thing that gets a favorable bye or a thing of favorable matchups. So why not Ohio State? And I'll take our chances with this team against anybody. I think this team is insanely talented. My opinion of the team hasn't changed one bit. I think tactically some things have to change. I think they've got to dial up the pressure. If that involves the jack position, if that involves blitzing Caleb Downs more, blitzing Sonny Styles, whatever they got to do, they've got to dial up the pressure and live with the results. And secondly, they've got to figure out the Denzel issue. And if they can figure that out on defense, I think that solves 95% of our problems. And then offensively, let's just hope Zen acquitted himself nicely in that game. He didn't play bad, didn't grade it out well. Considering that he came in the middle of the game, was a pretty heroic effort. And we just need Zen to be good enough, because if Zen's just good enough on the offensive line, I have no other complaints about the offense will cook. They'll be fine in terms of doing stuff. But look, Nick Saban called Kirby Smart after the loss to Alabama, and he's like, Kirby, this could be the best thing to happen to your team. And I totally agree with him. There's when you're undefeated, no matter what the coaches say, you can look back at them and say, well, we're undefeated, coach. Hey, we won the game, coach. They didn't call offensive pass interference, and we kicked the field goal, and we won, 34-32, and now everybody thinks we're great. Instead of they called offensive pass interference, and now everybody thinks we're trash, and Ryan Day should be fired. Jim Knowles absolutely should be fired, and Will Howard sucks. But for love of a field goal. So no, I actually think it doesn't change much. And our margin for errors in a 12-team playoff are just really, really wide. You just got to get better. The getting healthy part is the tough part, because Jimmy Simmons ain't going to get healthy. There's no getting healthy for him. He's done for the year. But that's why guys come to Ohio State. Zen. There's no reason Zen can't be a good left tackle for us. He's got time. This is his moment, and his number's being called. So now he's just got to get it done.
Yeah, and like with Zen, he's not a sophomore. I mean, he's an old guy. He's been around for a long time. He's gone against Jack and JT for a long time. He's the guy that Justin and those guys felt were the best. And again, I wouldn't count out George Fitzpatrick. I'd make it a two-man race this next 2 weeks. And but Zen's got the game under his belt, which is good. But I'd open the door up for the next 3 days for it to be competitive and scrimmaging and get after it a little bit. And I think that. I honestly was proud of Zen. I mean, dude, that is a tough situation to get put into. You're cold. You're standing there. The team looks great on offense, and all of a sudden, it's like they get hit in the forehead with a sledgehammer, and they lose the second best player. He might have been the second most valuable player on the entire team. I mean, Josh Simmons was an All-American left tackle. So again, like if you go through the litany of guys that who can you not lose, or who would be the most devastating guy to lose? Will Howard is far and away number one. Josh Simmons is number two, and we lost him early on versus a really good top 2 team now. And guess what? Zen, it didn't look like vomit. And there's been times where guys go out there and they're not ready mentally and they're not locked in, and they're just not ready to go. I've seen that. You just watch the NFL every week. There's offensive linemen that get hurt in the game, and all of a sudden, a team can't function because they're missing their starting tackle. So. I was proud of Zen. I think that we can win with Zen. The pressure thing, it's interesting because with Jack and JT, those guys get as much abuse and hatred as any players in the history of Ohio State at this point, I think. But I think you really got to let those guys do whatever they got to do. Guys, if you guys want to take inside moves, if you guys want to hit inside spin moves, we have to have some schemes where they're allowed to do whatever they want. If it means we're going to loop the D tackles out, if it means that we're going to have the linebackers cover and contain, or be more hesitant, whatever. Again, like when Wade Phillips had Von Miller at his peak, around Super Bowl 50, when Von Miller was the best player in the NFL, there were defenses he called where it was Von, do whatever you want to do. You can go inside, you can go outside, do whatever you want to do. And then the guys behind you will make you correct. They will play off of whatever you do. And that's why Von Miller had 20 sacks and was the most disruptive player in the league by far, because, again, that's something you have to do when you have a gift of pass rush. Again, those guys both have great spin moves. I highlighted, I'm literally looking for JT's spin move that he hit on that twist last week, and I broke it down and I was like, that's the best spin move in the country. There's not a player in the nation that has a better spin move than JT Tuimoloau. But the problem is, does anybody know that doesn't watch the film? No, because he's not allowed to ever do it. So again, if you just want to have guys rush the outside shoulder, then don't spend an NIL money on those guys. If they're just going to rush and be Velcro to the tackles for the whole game, because again, you have to let disruptors disrupt. I mean, I watch Trey Hendrickson with the Bengals hit an inside move versus Andrew Thomas, who makes $150 million to play left tackle for the Giants and probably one of the 5 best tackles in the league. Trey Hendrickson, inside move, sack. Easy peasy. And Trey Hendrickson's obviously a Pro Bowler, 17 sacks last year, but those guys don't just have to rush the outside shoulder every single time like our guys do. And it kills us. Now, again, I get the concept of the cage rush. I get the concept of team defense and keeping the guy in the pocket and blah, blah, blah. But at some point, you have to go hit the quarterback. You know, I mean, and again, when I'm playing offensive tackle and I know that this guy has to rush outside contain every single time and hold the end gap, it's a cakewalk. If the guy can only bull rush me and set the outside edge and can never go inside, he's not allowed to spin, he's not allowed to do anything, I'm like, this is the easiest matchup in the history of football. And again, that's what I feel like we make it too easy on offensive tackles when you have skilled pass rushers like JT and Jet. Because again, I've talked to guys like Paris Johnson, who's going to make $200 million in the NFL playing left tackle. And those guys are real. Those guys can pass rush. Those guys got moves. They've beaten the tar out of they did beat the tar out of Paris and DeWand, you know, and those guys are NFL starters, you know, so why can't they beat some guy from Oregon or some guy from Iowa or whatever? It's because they're not allowed to be creative. And again, that's something that, you know, again, I love our team defense. I think we do a great job. Again, you know, Denzel has to figure out life at this point because, you know, obviously he wasn't fast enough to keep up with Tez Johnson and he scorched him a couple times. So, you know, again, that's something where talent-wise, I don't know. Back up, I guess. Run, turn. But, I mean, outside of that, like, I said it 100 times in the last 2 days. At the end of the game, our defense held them to a field goal. They had to kick a 19-yard field goal to take the lead, and they gave us a chance to win the game. You know, so, again, as ugly as it was and as many explosives as there were and lack of pressure and everything, when we needed our defense to get a stop, they got a stop. They made it easy on our offense to do a 2-minute drill, get in field goal range, kick a field goal, win the game. Now, you know, obviously we had the OPI that killed us, but, you know, again, I am not as low on our defense as everyone else is because, you know, we're an offensive pass interference away from winning. But again, I still think that losing the game is more beneficial than winning the game, which you know, run that back, say Kirk's an idiot, Kirk's stupid. But you look at some of the greatest football teams that overcame the greatest odds. Like you look at the Giants team that beat the undefeated the 07 Patriots team that had Moss and one undefeated. Like week 17, they played all their starters, and the Giants had clinched. They didn't have to. They played all their starters. They played the Patriots in a really tight game. The Patriots were trying to go 16-0, go undefeated. Really tight game. The Giants lost that game, but it was really close, and they fought them hard, and it was a really tough game, and the Patriots had an undefeated regular season, and guess what? They saw them again in the Super Bowl, and what happened? The Giants, they weren't scared of the big bad wolf because they're like, well, we should have beat them the first time. So what happens? They go out and beat what would have been the greatest team in the history of football, the undefeated 07 Patriots, but again, something happened on the way to the podium when the Giants knocked them off in that Super Bowl. And so again, the team that lost, I thought had the mental edge because they know that they were this close to winning. You know, so again, who's going to be more motivated if we see these guys in the Big Ten Championship? Oregon, who already beat us, or is it going to be us, who we would want to beat them worse than anything in the history of being? Again, I'm not saying we didn't want to win on Saturday, but man, when you get a second crack at somebody and there's a championship ring on the line, I mean, God, I know. I mean, you wouldn't even have to do anything to motivate the team, in my opinion, if you have any type of pulse or any type of leadership. But again, I think losing sometimes it resets these kids, because if we win this game going into the bye week, the adulation, the NIL deals, all the love, all the trash that comes with winning, all the bad stuff that comes with winning would have been, you know, these kids have been up to their eyeballs in it. But now the bandwagon is a lot lighter than it used to be. The fans have been vicious, and now all of a sudden these guys can kind of, you know, really close ranks and figure out who's really with them and roll forward. Because again, I think this team, they're still the most talented team in the country, even without Josh Simmons. I still think that way. And again, we're one play away from winning again. So, you know, as distraught and sad as people are, I can't be like that, because it's not my nature. Because I think this team's got an opportunity to do something incredible this year. What say you, Nevada?
No, I completely agree, and it's not, this isn't sunshine, but this is this is just worldview. This is just how I view the world, and my honest opinion. And we value trying to be honest with you guys about our stuff. If all hope was lost and it was despair time, believe me, we'd all be dressed in black like Kirk is, and crying, and I mean, it'd be all there, but I'm just not there. I mean, I see multiple paths to get to where we want to get to on this, and this is a really good team, and I've spent the better part of the last couple of days kind of looking and you know you know talking to people on the team, talking to people close to the team, talking to people that watch the team. Had a great conversation today that I recounted on BuckeyeScoop.com with one of the biggest gamblers in the world. I mean, literally one of the biggest gamblers in the world. And he was giving me his perspectives. And this is a guy he's not emotional. He's not a fan. He's not a fanboy of any team. He's just a fan of math. And he was explaining to me, how they handicap the games and what they look for, and he just had so many good perspectives on it. If you remember Buckeye Scoop, I don't pimp my own threads very much, but it's a good one. I mean, I felt like I got $1 million education to listen to this guy talk about expected values per possession and about how they view it. That you know, holding a team to a field goal and they're in an elite game, to them is a win. That's a win for the defense. So it's not just turnovers, it's not just forcing punts, but holding teams to field goals is a win. And he's going through the modern era about how scoring and how scoring's up, and he's going through the averages and what you need to win. And just like I said, it was just absolutely fascinating stuff. But from his perspective, he likes the Ohio State defense. He didn't know the name of Denzel, but he didn't know the name of the defensive coordinator. He didn't know, Jim Knowles, but he's like, this stuff that I see about how they've done in the last 5 games against top 5 opponents. He goes, well, if you'd have beat them, they wouldn't be top 5 teams. So you're naturally skewing towards losses. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. So, like I said, I am not nearly as negative on the. That doesn't mean that I don't see paths for improvement on both sides of the ball. I absolutely see paths, and there are things that I would absolutely do different, and that I'm hoping that they do differently, and that they unleash hell on Dylan Raiola in Nebraska in 2 weeks. And I think it's a perfect time to do it and take out some of that frustration. But they got to do it because I personally am of the opinion that making Dylan Gabriel comfortable in the pocket. And it wasn't just about one play or when they only rushed 2. I think people get hung up on that stuff, and to me, they just sound ridiculous. They're like, oh, they rushed 2 on this play. And I'm like, well, clearly they were looking for a screen or something else, and they got outguessed. And they don't rush 2 on every play. That's not what happens. But we just did not consistently get better. So it wasn't even about sacks. But like, I like it when you're hitting the quarterback. We didn't even touch the quarterback. Now, to our credit, I think they only hit Will Howard one time too. So we did a really good job as well, on the offensive side. But from a defensive side, Gabriel's a guy that will put it up if you hit him, and we did not make him uncomfortable. And from a defensive standpoint, to me, that was the story of the game. I mean, that and Denzel. And we've got to figure out ways. We've got to figure out blitz packages, pressure packages. I said this before, but I saw Green Bay rush 9 guys against Kyler Murray in one play. 9 guys. And it wasn't at the goal line. It was like on the 25-yard line or something like that. They rushed 9. So sometimes you just got to let your hair down, tell the guys, hey, you're going to man up on the outside, and we're just going to go get this guy. And if something bad happens, then you know what? Given the games that are as high scoring, there's a part of me that's like, I'd rather have them score quickly and get us the ball back, because I have so much confidence in our offense to go do things, either on the ground or in the air. I think we can hurt teams a lot of different ways, but I'm just not scared of trading points with people. And I'll go for tackles for losses. I'll go for negative plays. I'll go for one of the reasons they're not getting holding penalties is because we're not pressuring the quarter. I mean, if you get pressure on the quarterback, then you tend to get a lot more holding penalties. And, that's just a fact. If you're pressuring the quarterback and those guys have to grab onto your defensive ends to keep them off the quarterback, that's when you can generate the penalties. But we weren't even generating the pressure, so we're not generating the penalties, so we're not generating the negative plays, and we got to get that fixed. And that's on Knowles, that's on, OG Tim Walton, that's on Larry Jones, that's on that defensive staff to figure that out. they've got to get pressure on the quarterback and live with whatever happens behind it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's the biggest thing with what we're dealing with is that you need to get pressure on these guys, and it's something that's been tough because we haven't had the pressure that we love to have as a great defense. And it's perplexing, but I think he's gonna let these ends do what they need to do and get after a little bit. Well, Nevada, we can move into some super chats. We've got a ton of them, so we will get this. Let me get these going real quick. Christopher O, thank you for the 5. If you have a question, toss that in the chat. Karis Washington, thank you for the 5. Let me see. Thanks for being an ultra member as well. I agree. I reflected on it. If we beat Oregon, people would be gunning for us, and we are hungry for them. I just think that there's some teams that I've been around that would have been better if we had have lost a game. I think that the 06 team would have been better if we had lost a game. Now, again, if we lose a game in 06 and we don't make the championship, so I don't know how that works. But if we could have played in a 12 team. Now, again, also, we don't need Ted Ginn to break his leg. That also kind of sucked because he was our best player by far. He was our version of Will Howard. Him and Troy, if we lose either of them, it's going to be curtains. So I don't know. Like in the 12, if this is a 4-teamer, like last year, 14 playoff, then I'm much more upset, much more nervous, much more worried that we're going to be going to a worthless bowl game. 12-team playoff, my mindset is completely different. And yours should be too, honestly. Like this is, it's the NFL, guys. Like, I mean, there's a lot of good teams. There's not many teams that go undefeated in the regular season. So, there's a lot of teams that win Super Bowls and have great seasons that have multiple losses in the regular season. So, hey, that's the world that we live in now. And the playoffs are only going to get bigger. They're going to go to 16 next, I'm sure. Nevada, what are your thoughts? Karis, he says, I agree. I reflected on it. If we beat Oregon, they would be gunning for us. Now we are the hungry team. What are your thoughts?
Well, look, you lived it in 06, and you know that you lived your life with very few regrets. I know that, but I know that one of your regrets is, after taking all that rat poison, after winning that 1 versus 2 matchup, that maybe you wish that you could have recalibrated with your teammates and try to do something to get everybody back grounded. But you guys sat there for 39 days and looked at yourself as the invincible team, the best team on the planet, and then you played Florida and it wasn't your best game. And I don't need to speak for you. You can speak for yourself. But maybe a loss early in the season would have been better for you that year. I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Of course. I mean, I think that when you lose, it's a lot harder to coach kids, especially kids that are young and impressionable and frankly stupid, when they're in this era where everyone has so much access to them, where they know that if we beat that Oregon team, the NIL money comes flowing, even mid-season. I mean, the guys are getting deals right now. If we win that game, people are doing photo shoots and commercials, and the funniest thing is our DBs were selling T-shirts and hoodies that said BIA, and it's like, they got to retire BIA after Saturday, at least until they get back up to the standard, because like BI, it used to be best in America, and now it stands for Burnt and Altson, because I mean you can't be out there selling T-shirts and getting arrested.
Zinger.
Well,
Kirk, do you have writers? Do you have writers that write this stuff for you or something?
I have a Stairmaster, and I sit on it and drone. I drone along. People are like, "Why is he sweating so bad?" I was like, "Well, I work all day. I try to work out for an hour so I don't have a heart attack. I go get an hour cardio in, jump in the shower. I say, Nevada, I still have to cool down for another 5 minutes. We're going to go at 7:05 today because, again, I don't want to be just doused and have shower sweats. But I'm just telling you, it's like, guys were starting to get in that mode. They're worried about, these kids, they worry about branding and their T-shirt lines and their social media and their NIL deals. And like, guys, like, do your job. It's like we have people in the Woody Hayes that are obsessed with reading what we read on our message board and like, go recruit somebody. Go get us a pass rusher. Go get us an offensive tackle. Like, don't worry about us. We're fine. I mean, trust me, we, win or lose, we do great. Now, you guys, if you guys lose, you guys are going to be, moving your families to a new address. Cause again, like that's the business. But, it's like, there's some people that they start rolling down this path, man. Like, again, You lose all of a sudden, man. Them phones aren't ringing off the hook no more. These guys don't look as handsome to the girls. Like it's the whole shebang. And I mean, I've lived it as a player. You come back home after a loss, man, and damn, all the honeys don't love me as much as they used to, or they might give you some love out of sympathy, but that's about it. So, now it's time to go do your job. Let's go play football. Go get back to the grind and get back to the grind. So, and again, like, it's a lot easier to light these kids up and coach them and for them to pay attention when they lose. Because again, they played with fire and they got burnt. They might have been feeling themselves a little too bit. Because again, our corners played terrible. So again, I don't know if they were, listening to the wrong song or doing the wrong dance, or OG Tim Walton's poetry that he reads before the game wasn't great, but something has to change there, because you can't go out and just get shredded by a bunch of guys. And again, those were, to be fair, those were the first good players that they've seen all year. So, they were awesome against Akron and Iowa and people that couldn't run past me, but they played some 4-3 guys and they got roasted. So again, I'm not being negative, because again, we need these guys to get their head out of their hind ends and get rolling, because that's what it is. So again, but again, this is the beauty of the 12-team playoff, is it's not over. The lights don't get turned. Like when we screwed up in 06, the lights were turned off after. Game was over, zeros on the clock. We didn't get a second life. These guys have a second life. It's been activated. They have a second life now. They've been resurrected because of the 12-team playoff. They're not in the old days of the old 2-team BCS or the 4-team playoff. These guys are fully resurrected. Now it's up to them to realize, hey, do we want to feel like that again? Do we want to go get a ring? Do we want to all come back for nothing to go play in the Alamo Bowl? Or do we want to actually go win a national championship? Because again, the same guys, obviously, like, you can't do anything about losing Josh Simmons. That's just part of life. But again, the 14 team, which might have been, I don't know if that was the greatest team we've ever had in school history, but it was maybe the most resilient team. Because, I mean, Braxton Miller was the Heisman favorite, and his arm fell out of the socket during training camp. And, they're Kenny Guyton and Cardale, baby. And they won the Natty. And that's one of the most beloved teams in history, because, and again, they screwed the pooch. Like people don't, you remember how bad we looked versus Navy? We looked terrible. And then we play Virginia Tech at home and we get smashed by 2 touchdowns by a team that went like 6-6. So, that wasn't like, after 3 weeks, man, people weren't exactly punching their tickets to New Orleans and to Dallas for the championship game. But these guys have life, and this team's much more talented. Now, we don't have Joey Bosa, but our running backs, like, we have 2 Ezekiels. I think Ezekiel's better than either of the 2 guys this year, but combined, this backfield is more talented. Our quarterback is certainly more talented. So I don't know if I said Kenny Guyton, I meant JT Barrett, but like, I don't know. I like this. I like this team. I like this direction. I like this offensive line. Our receivers are incredible, and nothing's changed except for, guys have to decide if they want to play better or not. So again, like, you get to practice on Tuesday, and Ryan Day's got to turn it up a little bit. Again, this is a good time for bye week, because now you can figure out who really likes football and who doesn't. So that's just my opinion. Jim Jackson, I appreciate you, my man. Thank you for the 10. Hope you're doing good, my friend. Hey, Kirk, I've been hearing a lot of blame towards Coach Johnson when it comes to lack of pass rush and not letting Coach Knowles do his thing, the jack position, etc. Thoughts, Nevada OH? Nevada, you take this one first. I'll let you expound on the Jim Knowles Battle Royale Dagestan Poppy.
I'm just like, look, Jim Knowles is a crusty old bird, man, and I'm having a hard time accepting that any position coach is going to be dictating terms to Jim Knowles, and that Jim Knowles would be okay with that. I don't care who he is. I don't care how long he's been here. I don't care if his kid played in the NFL. None of this. I just have a hard time wrapping my mind around it. And I haven't heard that from anybody credible. I've heard that as just kind of internet fodder. And I know enough about, we always talk about the narrative and about how there's narrative setters that go from Ohio State and they push stuff out and it gets put. And I know a person who's spoken negatively about Larry Johnson before, so it doesn't surprise me to see this. And I'm not gonna say that I definitively know that's where it's coming from, but it just seems, it's kind of like when you hear a party, any party, Republican, Democrat, whatever, and they start saying the exact same things, like we're joyful warriors. We're joyful. Boy, this is joyful. Wow, we're really joyful. Then you're like, wow, it sure seems like somebody put out a memo with the word joyful on it. And they're all just saying joyful. Well, the Larry Johnson stuff is coming from somewhere. And I don't know. I mean, I would love, I like Jim Knowles. You guys know that I like Jim Knowles. I respect Jim Knowles. So I'd love to just sit here and go, yeah, Larry Johnson's bad Larry Johnson, and good Jim Knowles. Jim would do it, but Larry won't let him. But I don't know that to be true, so I'm not going to say it. So I have no agenda on this stuff. I just watch the games, talk to people, draw my own conclusions about stuff. But I don't know that that's true. So I don't want to. I know there's a lot of those rumors out there, but I've learned to not trust stuff coming out of Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean that's the worst place to get information from, honestly, because there's always a slant and there's a lot of vindictiveness that comes out, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, like, do you guys really believe that? But I mean, here's the thing I do know: I've sat in staff rooms at Ohio State, at the Woody Hayes. I've been in the staff room. Position coaches and coordinators do not always get along. They do not always agree. There's human nature. There's the human element. There's all kinds of things that you have to deal with. So could there be disagreements on how to pass rush, deploy stuff? Of course. That being said, I know that Larry Johnson is not on team no pass rush, and I know that Jim Knowles is not on team no pass rush or no pressure or whatever. So these guys got to figure it out. I mean, these guys make a combined like $3 million, and these guys got to figure out how to get these guys going. And again, we've been singing the same tune for 4 years now. Since Chase Young left in 2019, we have not had consistent pressure ever. So again, something has to change to get pressure up front. And again, if I really thought Larry Johnson was a problem, because I played against his guys and Tom Bahali and Jimmy Kennedy and first rounder. The Bosa's did fine with Larry Johnson. Chase Young did okay with Larry Johnson. So again, I don't know what the major malfunction is, but they're grown men. And honestly, you know what? Ryan Day, if I'm Ryan, I'm like, guys, what do we have to do to get pressure like every other team in the country gets? Just show me. Let me know, please. That's all I want to know. Show me what we have to do. Why do we not get pressure? Because again, it's paramount. Again,
but why don't the hard-hitting OSU media staff ask the freaking question instead of, hey, Ryan, when's the last time you and Mrs. Day went out for a dinner? And hey, Ryan, if you were an animal, what kind of spirit animal would you be? Why don't you ask these questions, guys? Like, you have these guys up there. Ask the questions and ask follow-ups, and don't take no for. I mean, we've got this fat Star Wars convention of people out there that are just all super fans, and they're all just all excited to be in the room with Ryan Day. And but ask some questions, guys. You media guys suck. Ask some of these tough questions because we want to know. I want to hear them get up publicly and say the answer. We are telling them not to rush. We're telling them to just cage rush and just contain, and that's our strategy, and that's what we believe. Well, okay, that's your strategy that you believe in. Let's go with that. But say it. And I mean, like you said, neither one of those guys seem like the type of guy that's on team no pass rush. Larry Johnson doesn't. Jim Knowles doesn't. So it's coming from somewhere, and let's figure it out.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, imagine if you're Larry Johnson and you're like, man, I want to go recruit Dylan Stewart or some 5-star defensive end. And it's like, well, like if I'm going against Ohio State, I'm saying, hey, they've got 2 5-star guys that have a combined 3 sacks or whatever. So I don't know. Like, I mean, why do they not get past? I mean, I think Dylan Stewart has more sacks than either of our guys. He might. I know that after a few games. I mean, Oregon's guy had 4.5 sacks after. We both played Michigan State, who stinks. So again, I don't know. But that'd be the first question I have to say. What are you doing to fix the pressure situation with the quarterbacks? How are we going to affect quarterbacks going forward? Because and again, here's the biggest thing that again. The Star Wars convention guys, they don't do their homework. And again, I've had credentialed people tell me they watch our show because our information is good. So that's the world we're living in right now. And I know the guys there, I'm not going to mention it, but he said to me, yeah, I love watching your show because you have better information than anybody. And I was like, really? I was like, I know that I'm a pariah because, again, like we run circles around everybody. So, of course, they're not going to like us because the little old Buckeye Scoop just happens to be the most powerful force in Ohio State media. But that being said, I would go to these guys and say, what are we doing to get Jack and JT going? Could you cut them loose? Are they allowed to spin? Again, I would literally say, look, hey, coach, I was watching film and I saw JT Tumalo hit an Iowa tackle with the best spin move in the entire country. Why does he never get to spin? Why does he never get to take an inside move? Why does he always have to rush the outside corner and stand there and condense the pocket? And then the biggest thing is, are you going to commit to rotating these guys? Because the biggest problem is we play a tempo team that goes up tempo like Oregon, and JT and these guys are playing 60 snaps. So guess what happens when it's third down and these guys are completely gassed? They can't even get off the ball because they're so tired. Why? Because Kenyatta Jackson and Caden Curry aren't good enough to play, or they're not trusted enough by Larry or Jim Knowles or whoever to spell JT and Jack. Because again, those guys playing 60 plays, go watch Myles Garrett and Nick Bosa and whoever. Go watch those guys and see if they play every play of every game. So again, that kills these guys. I mean, those guys against a tempo offense, that's like running wind sprints for 4 hours for the entire game and never getting a break. You get, thank you, took off for 10 plays. And then to double it up, when we turn the ball over like doofuses, like when Quinshawn gets stripped and then we don't field the squib, pooch, whatever kind of kick that thing was, like, then it's like they gotta, when they're supposed to be resting on the bench and hoping that our offense has an 8 to 10 play drive and drains some clock and lets them get their legs under them, they gotta go right back on the field after they just were on this long drive. So again, it's a combination of we don't spell these guys because again, Kenyatta Jackson and Caden Curry have to play better or they have to gain the trust or whatever. And again, Caden Curry, for whatever reason, is like a magnet to sacks or the ball. It's like he shows up every game. And a lot of times it's like against Iowa, the guy just literally didn't block him and he just ran in there and got a sack and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, but it happens for him. Like, I don't know what it is, man, but he falls into all kinds of plays. And again, I think he's a good pressure player and I think he needs to play more, but you have to have the balls to get Jack. And again, I don't think either of them are any good against the run though. I think that's what scares Larry Johnson and Jim Knowles is I don't think that they trust Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson versus the run. Because again, if I'm the offensive coordinator for Oregon and I see Jack and JT go out of the game, I'm running right at Kenyatta Jackson. Swear to God. And it's going to be, and again, Notre Dame did that last year. As soon as they put Kenyatta in, man, they ran right at him. And it was 40 yards down the field. And then Jack, it was the game before Notre Dame. You put those guys in and teams run at them and we get diced up. That's why last year, Notre Dame, Jack and JT had to play the whole game. Because the week before, it was like teams would run at Kenyatta, and they're just like, yeah, we're going to go get some free money, get some free yardage. So, D. Sunny, thank you for the 10. Appreciate you, my friend. With people questioning if Burke should have been benched, what goes into benching an established player mid-game? Does the coach think about the politics, or is it about winning now? I think it depends on the coach, and it depends on the player, which, again, that's a very vanilla answer. But, again, it depends on how big of a leash does this player have. Denzel's been starting since he was a freshman, so he picked a bad time to have the worst game of his life. But, I think when a guy doesn't have it, or if a guy, again, the biggest thing with Denzel is he looked really slow. And again, I don't know if Jermaine Matthews can run with, I don't know if any of our corners can run with Ted Stewart, because he was scorching fast. They run those go routes, or Tez and Evan Stewart. Those guys were, I was calling Tez Stewart, I was combining the two. Like, those guys were, they're 4-3 guys. They're legit speed demons. And, they threw it over Denzel's head, man. He looked like, like a pig on ice. So I don't know. I mean, I know Jermaine is dying to get in there, but, it depends on the player, man. It depends on how bad. But Denzel was shook, and you could see he was shook, and we could feel he was shook just watching the game. I mean, I rewatched the game, and it was like they just kept picking on him. It was like when we played Michigan in 2018, and we were running those mesh patterns, man. And like they had that one corner, and we just kept throwing on him. I mean, he was like Flounder, the giant fish from The Little Mermaid. You find the fish, he was Flounder. And we threw it at him every time. And Dwayne threw for like 500 yards, it felt like. 62 points. But Nevada, I love your question. That with people questioning if Burke should have been benched, what goes into benching an established player mid-game? Does the coach think about the politics, or is it about winning now?
Well, first of all, I got to say, our defensive back room, they know as BIA, is best in America, but it really should be burnt in Austin.
Outson, not Austin.
Damn it! I
Jesus,
blew that.
You just blew my whole thing. Jesus.
Wait a second. Well, I've got an intern here that gave me the wrong thing here. Abner, give me a different. You got to go back.
Take your belt. Take your belt out on Funky. Funky's gonna be getting beat like the kid in the Christmas story. Ralphie said, "You said what?" And he's like, beating his kid.
My intern just blew that one. There, it's like, oh man, but anyway, no, I don't think people realize, it's the position coaches that are sending guys. The position coaches are on the field. It's like Brian Hartline, figuring out who's going to put out there for wide receiver. Coach Locke with the running backs, Larry Johnson with the defensive linemen, and Tim Walton with the defensive backs. So if Tim Walton's out there and he allows a guy to stay out there and get roasted 8 guys, I mean, I don't know why he doesn't. I'm not saying that people should harass him or whatever, but that's the guy that question should be directed to, because he's the guy making that decision. He's the one on the field. He's the one with knows the kids, knows who's ready, knows who's not, and he's stuck with them the whole time. And they threw at him 8 times and completed 8 passes for 178 yards or whatever it was. So, I love Tim Walton. I'm glad he's here. Tremendous recruiter, done a great job, but. BIA now stands for Burnt in Outson. Burnt in Outson.
You'll mess it up again, I'm sure.
Sure, man. I can't believe I screwed that up. I can't believe that. BIA.
Barton and Arby's.
Barton is amazing.
Barton and Arby's. Oh my gosh. Mozzarella sticks and Jamocha shakes, baby. Ian Bates, thanks for the deuce. Both bombs. Burks was trying to get a pick. Selfish. Well, I mean, I don't know if he's trying to get a pick when they're throwing it over his head. I mean, the one, it just like the guy just ran right past him. And it was the one where we did our patented drop 8. We had our linebackers rush into the line and dropped Caden Curry. And I'm like, Caden Curry's one of our best passers. I would never drop Jack JT or Caden Curry ever under any circumstance. I don't care. But we did. And they threw it right over his head. And I was like, oh my God, he looks slow. Nevada, do you think Burke was trying to get a pick? I don't remember that.
Yeah, I think he was squatting on those intermediate routes, and I think it was a double move. And like you said, it didn't matter how many people we rushed that time. The quarterback got rid of the ball pretty much on schedule, and they just went over his head. But I was just surprised by his lack of recovery speed. Just there were a few times where the ball seemed to hang in the air, and I'm thinking, oh my God, he's gonna intercept that. He's gonna make a play, and then it's like he just kind of stood in place like he's in quicksand, and the guy just went shooting on by him. So I just, if he was hurt, I hope he's not hurt in 2 weeks. If he wasn't, I hope he somehow finds a way to get like Superman, where he goes up there and regains his powers, and he goes back into the bar and beats the heck out of the guy. I hope that happens, because BIA now stands for Burnt in Outson. Burnt in Outson.
Backpedal and Outson. bombs in abundance. Oh my God. BIA. Bombs in abundance. Monty Mitchell, thanks for the deuce. Is LJ to blame for the lack of production on the defense? I don't know about the whole defense. I mean, maybe the D line. Again, I know that it drives JT and Jack crazy that they don't have double-digit sacks, because that's what they came here for. And that, they were right on the heels of Chase and Joey and Nick and sack machines, and they thought that was going to be their pathway to production and freedom. And again, those guys going into that game, they were number 3 and number 4 on Mel Kiper's draft list, so it's not like they're dog water like people make them out to be. But I don't think it's LJ. I think that I would blame the backups, because they're not good enough to rotate, or maybe it's on LJ because he doesn't rotate these guys enough. Because again, I don't think defensive linemen can play the volume of plays that they're playing and be productive, because those guys get tired rushing the pass, especially when it's a tempo team. I mean, like Oregon was tempoing us up and down the field, and it's tough. I'm telling you, if you're not going to rotate those guys, they're going to get tired. That's the whole reason you go tempo. And credit to Oregon. I liked their plan. I liked the tempo stuff. And again, I think it's a great equalizer. And we have, close to equal talent. I think we're still better than Oregon is, but they've got close to equal talent. So it's tough to go against. Nevada, your thoughts. Is LJ to blame for the lack of production on defense?
No, look, a couple of things. One, in my view, it's not about blaming it, but it's about responsibility. This is Knowles' responsibility. Knowles is the head. He's the head engine on the defensive side of the ball, and they got to figure it out. And if there is any internal conflicts, they've got to work that out. If Ryan Day is holding back with that, they got to whatever it is. But it's Jim Knowles' responsibility. It's not Walton. It's not Matt Guerrieri. It's not It's not Larry Johnson. It's Jim Knowles. Jim Knowles is the defensive coordinator. I'm not saying it's his fault, but it's absolutely 100% his responsibility to get it fixed. But there's a second, when I was looking at some things, we had some posters that were helping out with some stuff today. I just want to give people some stats and some stuff. People, they want, Knowles is terrible. We've played 9 ranked teams since Knowles has been here. In those games, we've given up an average of 25.5 points per game against ranked opponents. And those opponents averaged 36.3 during the regular season. So we're holding to 9.8 points below their season average at 25.5 points a game against ranked opponents. And, I can think of just 3 really notable games. Georgia 2022, Michigan 2023, and Oregon 2024, where we had the ball at the end of the game with a chance to win the game. And that's really, at Michigan, against that mighty Georgia team, and at Oregon, having the ball with a chance to win is pretty much all you can ask for from an offense. I mean, as an old offensive player yourself, that's what you want. The game's on the line. You guys want to have the ball and have a chance to go win and win or lose based upon how you guys do. And, we've had some bad variants and things didn't work out, but, just think about how different would the narrative be again for Ryan Day, just if we had made that kick in we made that field goal in the Georgia game, and if they didn't call offensive pass interference in the Oregon game. Forget everything else. I mean, they'd be naming streets after him. Like every other kid in Columbus born in the last 4 years would be named Ryan. And instead, everybody's got to be fired, and Jim Knowles sucks. And I'm just not there. I'm just not there. I think we're closer than people think. But to go back to the question, in my book, it's 100% on Jim Knowles, and Jim Knowles has got to get it figured out because it's his responsibility. It's his sandbox. He's got to figure it out. Get back to being best in America, BIA, best in America.
Do you think it's because Jim Knowles runs a gimmicky 3-safety defense is why they got burnt? Even though it was our number one corner that got burnt.
Well, everybody knows number one corner. You have to have 2 safeties over the top to support your number one corner.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, I'm sure he didn't say on that play, "Hey Denzel, just let the guy run past you and don't worry about what's over your head." I'm sure he's sitting up there eating his vegan tofu, kind of ready to gag himself when that thing happens. He's like, "What in the world are you doing, Denzel?" But with great power comes great responsibility.
It's life in the big city, man. I'm telling you, you never know when it's going to be your day, and it was Denzel's day on Saturday, man. And it's, and again, I hope that he has some miraculously huge play to erase that from people's minds, because again, it's like being a corner, man. It's as tough of a job as there is. I think it's the hardest position to play in football because you're going against guys that run 4-3, and they get rid of the ball, 7-man protection. So if they 7-man protect, we only bring 4, like. That guy's got all day to run on you. And he did. He was cooking. And then, in our fans, again, Bradley Roby played like 12 years in the NFL, and people still bring up to me the game where Jared Abbrederis from Wisconsin absolutely torched him in the horseshoe. And I'm like, that he didn't play against Sammy Watkins and clubs. And people brought that up to me. They're like, that was the Bradley Roby game. I was like, well, Roby won first round, and he's made a lot of money in his NFL career, but people still bring up that lowest moment of his life where he got scorched by the white dude from Wisconsin. So that's just part of the gig, man. It's tough. D Sunday, thanks for the 5 with the playoffs expanded. Will they eventually get rid of the conference title game? I don't see the point because both teams will be in the playoffs. I don't think so, because these conferences love money, and I think that the biggest thing is that when you do the conference title game, then you determine who is the actual champion. It's not like in the olden days when I played, where you could have an outright champion or you could have a split championship. Now there's one champion. Whoever wins that game is the team that's the Big Ten champion. Which again, I think that's kind of nice, because there's no more co-champions. Like we were co-champions in 05. We were outright in 06 and 07. So, again, I think being outright is better as opposed to sharing the Big Ten title. But what say you, Nevada? D. Sunny, again, thanks for the 5. Since the playoffs suspended, will we eventually get rid of the conference title game? I don't see the point, since both teams will be in the playoffs. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, the point's money. And that
exactly.
Always, the point is money. And, like you said, you don't want to have like multiple the Kids' Choice Award champion and the Nickelodeon Slime champion, and you want to have one champion. And with 18 teams or 20 teams or 24 teams, the only way to do it is to have a championship game, because there's really no criteria where you could break it with that many teams. So, as imperfect as it is, and I'm telling you, there are advantages to not being in your championship. We've already seen it. We've already seen teams that do better. This was in the 4-person college football playoff era, not playing in a game, and that shouldn't be the way it is. But teams get penalized for losing that game. You don't get many good doggies for winning it, and it's another week of wear and tear on the body. So there is a school of thought of avoiding that game isn't the worst fate in the world.
Buckeye 1, thanks for the news. Can you diagram some of our defensive schemes? Yeah, I probably not. We're getting a little late. We're almost at 50 minutes. I could probably do some of that tomorrow. Break down. I mean, I don't know. Do you want me to break down the good or the bad? Because we had equal of both, I felt like. But that'll be something I'll keep in mind for tomorrow. I was going to put up a thing of the Hindenburg, but I can't do it. Again, as bad as people want to kill our defense, they got us the ball back. They stopped them on the 1-yard line, forced a 19-yard field goal, and Oregon was up 1, and we had a timeout in like 90 seconds. So that's all I would ask for. Because again, you're not playing the Sisters of the Poor. When you're playing Oregon at Outson and they're going to score like crazy, then guess what? Like if they get you the ball back with 90 seconds, again, if you say, Kirk, this is a scenario, we're not going to blow them out, but we're going to give your offense with Will Howard the ball left with 90 seconds and a timeout, would you take that? I'd say every single time. All I need is a field goal, 1-point game. Let's go. Kick it, touch back. It's like we got to get 50 yards and we're there. 50 yards, you got a 42-yard field goal. Let's roll. So that's where I'm at. But I'll look for that. Buckeye, I want to appreciate you. Stephen Allen, thank you for the 10. 2 sacks combined against Oregon, and the last 2 games against Scum. 0 punts in the last top 5 matchups in the fourth quarter. Would a pass rush solve our defense? Lifelong Buckeyes fan in Georgia, Nevada OH.
Well,
I mean, obviously, if we had a better pass rush, our defense would be better, I think. But I mean, our defense was number 1 in the country coming into this, and what are they now? Nevada, like 3rd or 4th or something? It's still a top 5 defense. So,
well, even after that game, Kirk, just over the last 19 games, playing good teams, bad teams, the teams in between, we're number 1 in the country of all teams in college football over the last 19 games. So it hasn't all been bad. I know Ohio State fans feel that way, but it hasn't quite been as bad as you might think. Even though Saturday night was not our finest moment, no question.
Nevadabuck is the true BI, best in analytics, bringing the heat every time. He's got he's got a spreadsheet. He's got screens everywhere. It's like he's on the trading room floor of just analytics for our defense. And he's like, we're in good shape. And again, I think, like I said, our defense got 2 stops inside the 10-yard line versus Oregon. I'm like, that should be enough for us to win. Because again, you're not going to hold Oregon to 10 points. Like, come on, guys. Like, let's be realistic here. Like, it's like playing the Golden State Warriors and saying, well, if we hold them to 70, then we'll have a good shot to win. It's like, no, you better go score 120, and then you can beat those guys. So again, I just
especially when they get a turnover on the 27 and then a muffed kick on the 50. When you win the turnover battle 2-0, that literally gives 2 extra possessions to the other team. It'd be like playing baseball and I'm playing go to Kirk, and we're like, okay, we're playing, and then I go up in the top of the seventh, and then you come at the bat. I'm like, no, you don't get to bat now. We're going to bat again, and you're like, well, that doesn't seem fair. And I'm like, well, that's the way we're going to do it. I'm going to bat again, and then in the eighth, I do the same thing. Like, well, I want to bat in the eighth. No, you're not bat. We're going to bat. We're going to bat around the thing and go. It's like that's what it is with a turnover. And so they're getting multiple tries at that, and when that happens, frankly, given the expected value of where Oregon, because you knew Oregon was going to score points, then you hand them 2 extra possessions. I mean, guys, let's just be. I'm not saying it was a great. I'm the number one guy screaming for more pressure, more things, live with the consequences, figure out the Denzel issue. So I am not sitting there going everything's fine, but under the circumstances of losing 2 possessions, it wasn't what you guys were talking. I mean, it's just not as bad as and for me, holding a team to a field goal is a stop. Holding in modern football, in elite games, holding a team to a field goal is not. Teams are not going to beat you just kicking field goals. They're just not. When's the last game we lost by a team just kicking field goals? I can't, like the Snow Bowl or something like that. I mean, like it just doesn't happen. So, if our defense goes and gets turnovers, punts, and holds them to field goals, we're going to win every single game.
Yeah, I agree. Francis Plum, thanks for the 10. One, I was at Alston. Our crowd management could learn from Oregon. I agree on that. I've heard that only 1,000 times since like Sunday morning. 2, the team seemed sluggish. Travel plans need to change. 3, the game plan seemed to be let Oregon make mistakes. They didn't. 4, lots of holding, no calls. Well, yeah, I think Oregon's atmosphere smashes ours, which doesn't surprise me. Because again, the shoe is as stodgy and pompous as you could ever imagine. Because again, the problem with Ohio State, it's just like with our sports media department. Like we rest on our laurels, and we're never innovative. We're never exciting. We don't do anything to push the envelope. We just do, we just kind of show up and just like kind of lay there and okay, here we are. Let's have a good time. And like, we're never progressive about being great because we don't have to be, because our football team's so good that we sell the stadium out, and it doesn't matter if we put a ton of effort into making it better or no effort into making it better. We still sell it out because the team's so good. It's like a giant deodorant stick. So I don't think the environment is ever going to change. Again, it's been bad for 20 years, and unless we're playing Texas or USC at home, it's always going to be a bad atmosphere. 2, the team seems sluggish. Travel plans need to change. See, I thought the thing is like, we got the ball, man. We came down, we scored right away. Because I was looking at that. I was like, I wanted the team to go out on Thursday. Ryan, had them go out on Friday. They stayed on East Coast time, whatever. But I didn't think that they seemed sluggish, at least not offensively, because we went down and scored right away. So we looked sharp. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We lost by 1 point. So I would rather leave Thursday. That's what Penn State did to go play SC, and they won. Now, Penn State looked sluggish to start the game. SC was smashing them, and then all of a sudden they came back and won kind of a miracle game. 3, the game plan seems to be let Oregon make mistakes. They didn't make any mistakes, and they played really well. And they had some mistakes in the special teams game, but we just had our bonehead hands team. Caleb Downs doesn't field the ball, which is something you'd expect out of your most expensive player. And we had Quinshawn, fumble the ball and give him the ball on the 30-yard line. So again, those 2 things cost us the game, in my opinion. Like those were 2 huge momentum swings, and we were marching on those guys, and all we had to do is protect the ball. But we lost the turnover margin, which I said all week going into the game, like one or if you count the kickoff, 2 turnovers, it kills you. And lots of holding, no calls. Yeah, that's just the referees can decide if they want to make it a holding extravaganza or not. Nevada, your thoughts? Francis Plum, again, he says, I was at Alston. Our crowd management could learn from Oregon. 2, the team seemed sluggish. 3, the game plans seemed to be like Oregon make mistakes. They did not. And 4, lots of holding, no calls. Do you have any responses to those?
Yeah, I'm just, I totally agree on the crowd. I wish the Ohio State crowds were better, but it is what it is. I mean, the team. I think we look sluggish defensively because I think we just weren't attacking enough, and I think you always look more dynamic when you're attacking, and I think we weren't attacking, and but offensively, we score a touchdown, we hold them, we get the ball back, we're up 7-0 with the ball again, and then Quinshawn has the ball ripped out of his hands. unfortunate, but it happened, and we lost by one. And what was the last one?
We
Holding.
had
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, just that's my biggest beef. And I'm gonna go back at this, and I'm gonna be the old guy that stands on the roof and yells, but I got to do it. J.J. Smith was getting manhandled the entire game. And if you watch the play before the dreaded offensive pass interference, that guy is hanging all over him, grabbing his arm. He's going down there. Will Howard throws it up high, incomplete pass. And the ref doesn't call it. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay. You're going to let these guys hand fight. You're going to let these guys battle. That's the thing. So to freaking call the offensive pass interference on thing just still ticks me off. And I'm still mad about it. And nobody will ever. I've seen people write that, oh, it was obviously a good call. I think it was brutal. And Joel Klatt did a breakdown on it today, and it's one of the few times in the past few years that I've actually agreed with Joel Klatt. But he's absolutely like, that was a terrible call, and he said exactly what I said. So Joel Klatt's back he's off the naughty list. He's back on. So anybody, you can mark him for your Christmas cards and stuff. Send it to Joel Klatt. We like Joel Klatt now, because he agreed that was a terrible call.
He's getting back. He's been listening to the podcast, obviously. Schaefer Healthcare, thanks for the 20. I agree with your take. I don't want us to go crazy with blitzing. I'd rather see more stunts and shooting gaps at the front four. Do you think change is coming, or is Knowles too clingy to his game? I don't think Jim Knowles is too clingy to anything. I think he's team. What's the best thing for the team? Because when he showed up, man, there was a lot of commotion made about his jack position, which he ran at Oklahoma State. He ran it at Duke, and he ran it here, and it was completely ineffective. So he completely got rid of it. So I don't think he's married to anything. I think he's team. What is the best thing we can do with the personnel that we have? I think he's really good at adapting to the players he has. So again, he's got to get these guys to get home to the quarterback. And again, there's some times where teams know they just get rid of the ball fast. Like, and again, the one where they threw it over Denzel's head, like they had 7 guys protecting versus our 4-man rush. So I don't know, unless you're, God, maybe you could split double teams across. I mean, 3 of our guys are getting double teamed in pass pro. So our guys got to hold up in coverage. If they're going to dedicate that many guys and they're going to have a 7-man protection and it's a 3-man route versus the other 7 guys. So basically you can double team across the board. So you can't let a guy run over your head when you're in that situation, because they're 7-man protect to take a shot. And so when they take a shot, you better have coverage on it. So Nevada, your thoughts. Schaefer Healthcare, again, thanks for the 20, says he'd like to see more stunts and shooting gaps within the front four. Do you think change is coming, or is Knowles too clingy to his scheme?
I mean, look, Jim's changed his thing considering, and you got to understand, when he came here, he was known as the riverboat gambler. I mean, he was 50 plus sacks a year and let a rip tater chip. So I think he's dialed it back in the interest of what Ohio State needs and wants. And it's funny because he came here as kind of a wild man, and people are like, hey, he doesn't need to do that. We better athletes here. He doesn't need to run that defense. He needs to. And so now he's dialed it back. And now people are like, hey, he needs to dial it back up. So I think he's willing to do whatever. The good news is I really do believe we'll see change. And now we don't. Then you can go, no, Nevada, you don't know what you're talking about. But I would be shocked if we are not bringing pressure against Dylan Raiola and Nebraska when we see them, and Drew Aller the week after that. I would be shocked. But I was a little shocked on Saturday night that we didn't have more pressure against Gabriel, but hopefully this is a wake-up call for BIA, Best in America. Best in America.
Best
America, BIA.
Tom, thanks for the 10. Appreciate you, my friend. I'm fine with the loss considering everything. We lost that game more than Oregon won it. I don't think Oregon would be happy on a neutral site. I don't either. Especially if they're going to come to Indy. Then they got to take the long flight out here, and we got to take a little 40-minute flight or whatever it is out there. So I think, again, the turnover killed us. Just kind of is what it is. So C. Brown, thank you for the 5. Just because something once was doesn't mean it still is. Sometimes we realize what changes need to be made when it's too late. I have hope they will fix it. Yeah, again, I'm telling you, that's the best part about the loss, is that guys, like, with this loss, these guys have a real opportunity to fix stuff, and get things back into where they need to be. Because again, and I've said it a million times, but with kids and the human element, if we win this game, you have to beat these kids to death to get them into realizing, hey guys, we still got a lot of work to do. We still got to correct stuff. Like when you lose, you don't have to like convince them that they need to change. When you are winning, even if you play like trash, it's a lot harder to convince these kids, hey, that's not good enough. What do you mean it's not good enough? We beat number 4 or 3 or whatever, or we beat number 4 Oregon in Alston in the game of the week. Of course it was good enough. It's like, no, it wasn't. Like we can't turn the ball over. We can't do dumb things. But when you lose, it's real easy. Because again, the pain of defeat is one thing that these kids probably never want to experience again, especially when you play at Ohio State and you play in Columbus. Because again, our fans beat these kids to death. And again, I've been on the other side of it. Trust me. I mean, I had to go to class the day after we lost to Florida. You imagine how that felt. Talk about, I'd rather be on a deserted island in the middle of nowhere. Like that was probably the time I'd like to do that. But I faced it. I went to class. I faced the fire. I did media. I mean, the media, the best thing about when you lose a national championship, and this is something I didn't know, is that they let the media into the locker room right after the game. So like you're a kid and you just got shellacked by Florida and there's 100 media people in your locker room. Normally they don't let the media in the locker room. So again, it's real weird. I mean, guys are trying to shower and it's like you're in the NFL. Like that's what they do in the NFL. They let all the media come into the locker room after the game. And I'm like, that's insane. But again, there they were. And I stood in front of the firing squad and took the questions. Nevada, your thoughts. C. Brown, again, next to 5 says, just because something once was doesn't mean it still is. Sometimes we realize what changes need to be made when it's too late. I hope they will fix it. What are your thoughts?
I totally agree. I mean, I know that Ryan Day is taking it. I know Jim Knowles is taking it. I know Larry Johnson is. I mean, the players are getting it. So it would be illogical that they wouldn't address these glaring issues and these elephants in the room. And having a bye week to do it. I mean, there's no good time for it. But if you're going to have to do it, having a bye week to kind of implement some of these changes, or getting on the same page, changes if there were any disconnects and change in philosophy. So yeah, I absolutely believe that will be done. But we'll see. Talk is cheap. We'll see it on the field.
Big Red Buck, thanks for the 10. Do we know for sure that Devin Brown is the next man up if needed? Well, I think if it's like in the Nebraska game, yeah. But I think if something happened, knock on wood or whatever, and it was a long-term thing, I think they'd go to Julian Sand. Nevada, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think short-term, they'd have to go to Devin. But if it was, I don't even want to speak about Will Howard going down, because if Will Howard go down, I mean, it'd be so bad. I mean, it'd be so. I mean, I'm not sure what the score would have been on Saturday night if we didn't have Will Howard, but it would not have been 32-31, and it wouldn't have been a positive outcome for Ohio State. So, I think Julian Saints definitely is the answer longer. But I have one more question for you because I don't want to forget. When you were there at Ohio State, did you accept the sympathy, love from many of the people that were feeling sorry for you and they're willing to, sympathy love you?
No. I hated everything that moved. I didn't want to be around anybody. I don't care if it was Victoria's Secret model showed up at my apartment. I would have slammed it. I was so angry. Like it wasn't like I wasn't in the mood for anything. Because I was so angry and despondent when we'd lose, especially when we gave it away. Like there's some games where we just gave it away. Like again, when we lost to LSU in the championship, like we had 5 personal fouls. We roughed the punter on 4th and 22. Like we had a field goal get blocked. Like we looked like the biggest group of idiots in the entire universe because we sucked. Like we took the big stage after we learned all those lessons from Florida. And we went out and laid a huge egg, and we gave the game away. And we had 5 personal fouls. I mean, a personal foul is 15 yards automatic first down. Like we're the Raiders or something. Dropped a touchdown pass. Yeah, false start on the 1 yard line pushes us back to the 5, which then we have to kick a field goal, which gets blocked. So again, we looked like a bad little league, a bad peewee team that night. So again, there's nothing in the world that would bring my anger and fury down And again, I was like that after the Illinois game. We lost to Illinois at home on my senior day, and we're number one in the country. We looked like, I mean, at the time, I thought we're out of the championship. We went from the number one team to out of the championship because we lost to Illinois, and that we obviously backed our way back into it. We didn't. I mean, we ended up being the one seed, but I don't know. Like I would get so mad because, and I would be mad after wins too, because like if we didn't play up to where we needed to play at, I mean, this is a lot from my high school coach, it's from Nick Saban. They're kind of the same guy. Like it's not good enough to just beat a team, barely beat them, scrape by. But people don't get that because most people are soft and they're stupid, so they don't they don't know what excellence looks like. So it's really tough on them to comprehend that, you know, just because we beat a team doesn't mean that we should be happy. You know, some people say, "Oh, well, you won, great." It's like it's not about winning and losing. It's about how you play the game. Because if you play the game the right way, you'll never lose. But there's sometimes you go out there and you're just better than they are and roll the helmets out and you win. But you know, if you go out there and you suck versus a bad team, like it's not something to celebrate because there's going to be a lot of work that needs to happen. Maddie Bucks, thank you for the 5. I believe the team was gifted LeBrons for the game. Any thoughts to gear for causing Burke's lack of speed? I don't know if he was wearing those or not. Again, I would never wear new cleats in a game like that. I'd wear the same old ones that I wore for every game, but I know that they've got to wear all these stupid different uniforms every single week. They can't ever just wear scarlet and gray. They've got to wear like gray and black and all whites and, you know, whatever. It's like, I mean, can we ever just wear our actual jerseys? But I don't know. I don't think that had anything to do with that. I just think Denzel might not be as fast as we thought he was. Because again, I'm telling you, every team that has a fast guy is going to try to get him on Denzel and try to take him over the top now. But what are your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look. I liked the white unis. I thought visually the game looked great. It had huge ratings, like the biggest college football game on NBC since 2008 or something. So just, you know, did monster numbers. I'd have to go back and check his feet to see if LeBron put like little lead pads in there or something like that to do it. You know, it's kind of like when you're younger and you wore like. Did you ever wear ankle weights? Did you ever wear ankle weights and walk around with ankle weights on?
I heard those are terrible for you.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're like 15, you don't really think about that.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Ankle weights, yes. Like my ankles needed to be any heavier. Put some weight on them too.
I can see you walking around with ankle weights. You look like an ankle weight kind of guy, like those big old those parachute pants on and like ankle weights walking around or some big muscle shirt.
I knew a guy that used to wear those and he was such a douchebag. He would wear those like in a track meet and he wasn't fast. I mean, it was good. I went to high school with, and I was like, those aren't even good for your ankles, right? They actually hurt your ligaments when they stretch out. But again, it's like the power balance. Like people used to wear those things too. Guys made hundreds of millions of dollars selling bracelets that didn't do anything because they had a sticker on it.
Those shoes that have like the springs on them, and like you see those people like springing out there.
I think that those one jump shoes, those things actually worked. I never did that, but I know a kid that did that whole program, and he was like a dunking machine. Now he was tall, he's 6'5", but like I think there is actually something too. Those one shoes are like those big platform shoes, and he like did all these workouts wearing them. But again, what do I know? I don't know. I don't care either because I don't need to jump high to sit and do a podcast. I know that. HH Buckeye 5, thank you for the 5. Lack of pressure, gotta attack. Read and react is the lamest approach. Contain, rush, plus bullets the middle. At least disrupt the QB Predators attack. Nevada, your thoughts on that?
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. So I am hopeful and praying and confident that they're gonna adjust and do that because I just think you have to. We're Ohio State, for God's sake. That's what we need to do, and you know, I couldn't agree with that statement more.
Chocolate chip Scoochie, thanks for the 5. Yeah, we need that Bo Bamba playing in the shoe. I literally never see offensive PI no matter what they do. It's not a penalty you ever see. Now, I'm as white as mayonnaise, but I know that it's called Mo Bamba, not Bo Mamba. So that's the most Nevadabuck super chat I think I've ever seen. If we had Nevadabuck and they always Mo Bamba, I know it's called Mo Bamba. Yeah.
Bo Mamba.
That is the dumbest song that's ever been created. And it's like Penn State. And again, anything that's associated with Penn State, I automatically hate. But that's like their one of that and Zombie Nation, which they play because they think they're so cool because they play some stupid song over and over again. But yeah, Mo Bamba or Bo Mamba or Black Mamba or Mambacita or whatever. Like, we play it in the shoes. Just we don't get, I mean, all the old timers that are looking at their watches, making sure they can get the Golden Corral before 4:30 and they can still get the early bird special. Like, they don't know what Bo Mamba is. So they're not going to get wild and they're not going to understand it.
Bo Mamba.
I think we should just play La Bamba. We should play La Bamba.
I like La Bamba. That'll be great.
That'll be our spin on it. We'll play La Bamba.
We can do that. We can play La Bamba in our suite. Yeah. We can do that. Turn like a big conga line out there and start doing the conga.
And we can get like a giant fountain of white queso cheese with chips. It'd be great. You know, it's white queso just flowing on top of everybody.
We start just doing like some big conga line there in the Huntington Club. Just start congaing up and down the stairs. That'd be conga through our suite. That'd be awesome.
The Key Bank and White Castle people would love us. They'd be like, "What are these guys doing?" Yeah, they'd be voting to get us deported immediately. Get those gringos out of here. Bo Mamba. All right, HH Buckeye. Thanks for the 5. What does the O-line with first BU look like? BU. What's BU? With first BU. Is that like BI? Is that supposed to mean BIA?
I don't think it's BIA. BU.
I mean, I don't know if it's supposed to be like Nebraska. What does the O-line with first BU look like? Nevada OH.
First BU.
I really don't.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Whoa. Is it backups? Ding. Light bulb. I win.
First backups?
First backups. Okay, the O-line with the first backups. Well, obviously we think we're going to see Zen at left tackle. George is going to be the backup swing tackle now because they don't have any other tackles. And then I think you go Sireveld as your backup guard, Hinsman as your backup center. I think that's it, Nevada. I think we win. What do we win? All right, Nevada. Let's wrap this thing up. Best in
Mamba. Bo Mamba.
Well, we're gonna go BI and best in the American League and watch these Yankees play the Indians. So
Barton in abstinence. BIA. Barton in abstinence.
Barton in Africa.
Bo Mamba.
You call me Barton in Africa because I'm betting on these African soccer games.
I love that. Yeah. Well, I gave you a winner. You just didn't listen to me. I told you, Derry City. You're like, oh yeah, Derry City, and I gave it to you.
No, I don't have your stupid offshore book. All I have is DraftKings. I have domestic book. They don't even have that. They don't have Derry City versus Chernobyl.
Second division Irish soccer that I'm betting.
Derry City playing at Chernobyl. I like the odds. Second half under 1 goal because everyone will die. They'll all die on the field. Radiation poisoning.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah. Go Tribe. Can I call the Tribe? Can I call the Tribe? Can I say Go Tribe Go?
Yeah, they're only the Indians. They're not the Guardians. It's stupid.
Go Tribe. Go Tribe Go.
All right. Is that your final word for the folks?
My final word is, hey, keep the faith, guys. Everything's in front of us. Sometimes the best can come out of these situations, and I really think, and I'll go down with, I really believe this was the best thing that happened to this team was a close loss in Austin, BIA.
Yeah. Yeah, the close loss in Alton. It's like falling asleep on Saturday in Vegas because you just feel like you're like, yeah, that was a really good move.
I came to sleep.
I came to sleep. I'm not doing anything. I'm not spending any money. I wake up. I was like, man, I didn't get my wallet stolen. I got my credit cards. I don't have a bunch of charges pending. This is great. I didn't even eat, so I even feel skinnier. This is the greatest thing I've ever done.
Barton, best vacation ever.
Barton in Amsterdam. All right, let's go. Let's get out of here before this thing loses its mind. Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for being a part of the show. Again, what a fantastic night. Again, I appreciate you guys for being a big part of this thing. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Excuse me. We got the tribe playing right now, so I know a lot of you guys are watching that. So I appreciate you guys watching this after they're done. But again, thank you guys for all that you guys do. Again, huge show because you guys make it one. So thank you guys for that. As always, if you guys want to do something huge, give us a follow on Apple Podcasts. Again, we are going to be growing that platform dramatically. And I just appreciate you guys so much for all that you guys do. We'll be back at 7 tomorrow. So thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. We will talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.